The second half of our post-combine mock draft is coming your way today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, news starting to trickle in. It's pertaining to salary cap compliance and roster transactions and trade talks. We just had the newest one with Chicago Bears after agreeing to terms to trade for Jonah Jackson, we should say, because they can't process that till the league year starts. Now apparently inquiring about one of the Kansas City Chiefs interior offensive linemen as well.
Yeah, Joe Tuney, right? We'll see if he's on the move. It was kind of figured they had to make a choice there between Tuney and Trey Smith, and they went for the younger guy. And we'll see if they send off Tuney after all he did for that team, man.
Yeah.
Goes out there, plays left tackle down the stretch. Send him to Chicago, Thanks for everything, bud. We'll see you.
Give him a little pat on the butt, right? Best of luck to you.
Yeah, that's
every
the
4
league.
years.
That's the league, man. That's the league.
The business of it. The business of free agency is going to be really interesting as well. I think it was, what was it? Yeah, Tom Pelissero just put out a post this morning. 5 players who might get paid more in free agency than you think. And I know we got to get into the mock draft, but Jamien Sherwood's on this list, linebacker from the Jets. You got a dollar amount that you think is attached in this article for where he could potentially crack with his offers?
I think that Jamien Sherwood is the most important expiring contract for the Jets. I think it's probably 12 million APY.
With the contract potentially in the neighborhood of $12 million a year.
Good player.
I'll give you 2 more and then we'll get started.
Okay.
Trayvon Moehrig, safety, Raiders.
15, 16.
It won't be a surprise if he commands upwards of $12 million a year.
Ooh.
So that one might be a bargain.
Might be a bargain.
The last one. This one has me real shook. Aaron Banks, offensive guard.
You and I have been having a lot of conversations about PFF's projection of Will Fries at 11 million per?
Yeah, it's between, I think that's at 11. I think Spot Rack has him higher. I think it has it closer to 14.
And
Aaron Banks, do you think
Aaron Banks, he started probably 50 more games than Will Fries?
Yeah.
I'm boy, if that's a 20, that'd be crazy. I'll go aggressive. This to me is aggressive, and I'll say 15. Thinking about a Ben Powers type contract.
If the market is right, Banks should land a contract in a range of $18 to $20 million.
Jeez.
And for that reason, I'm out. If you get in that stratosphere, yeah, that's I guess just throw all your draft picks at offensive linemen then in that case and just live with the rest of the fallout from it.
We're Kyle Crabbs, you've been telling me all about offensive line development and how they peak kind of in that right out of that first contract.
Year 3, year 4 is kind of where they settle in, really.
Yeah. You got to pay for it, man.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of cap dollars out there, not a lot of attractive free agents, so cap that keeps accelerating.
Nice primer for tomorrow, which we preview free agency tomorrow on the show. But we did 16 picks yesterday on the show. Do we do the quick run through or do we just do a run through at the end?
Your choice.
I'll do a run through at the end. We'll do all 32. And then that way you and I can tag team it. So don't do 16 running them off. But we're starting here with Cincinnati at number 17. Doing 17 through 32 here today on the show. The Cincinnati Bengals are now officially on the clock. I'm not doing the jingle. We did it yesterday for the Draft Dudes post-combine 2025 NFL mock draft. And I have odds. So I'm picking for the Bengals. When I think about this spot, Joe, I think about some offensive line consideration. But I also think the pass rush with the question around what are they going to end up doing as far as Trey Hendrickson's contract? Do they figure out an extension? Even if they do figure out an extension, I feel like they could use more on that side of the ball as far as rushing the passer. Low-key tempted by Colston Loveland as a upgrade over Gesicki as a third big-time passing weapon for them.
Loveland. I hope that doesn't happen.
That'd be a problem to defend, right? That'd
Be
be
a real problem. Be a real problem.
I'm not going that route, but I did want to acknowledge the existence of that possibility in the back of my head. I'm going Mykel Williams, the pass rusher from Georgia. They're in Cincinnati to pair with presumably Trey Hendrickson on an amended contract. I know they have some young pass rushers in the pipeline that they've invested in, including a first-round pick investment there, but there's no such thing as too many good pass rushers. Mykel Williams, I think, has the length, the hand power, the power in general at his disposal to be an all-around type of player.
Very Bengals-y pick, in my opinion.
It's the defensive equivalent of Amarius Mims, who they took in the first round last year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll need these guys to work out, right? Mims and Murphy and Williams. But a lot of physical upside there. Seattle Seahawks, I'm controlling them here at number 18 overall. And I just have got to help this interior offensive line. I think it's really important, especially as they kind of shift to Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator. I'm going Gray Zabel, man. This guy out of North Dakota State. Guy can play, right? I think he's got a lot of upside to play any of those three interior spots, which I think is very helpful. And I really like Christian Haynes. I'd love for him to be a thing for them, and you put Zabel with him, and I think you just have two extremely athletic players on the interior there, not to mention, of course, Charles Cross is a super athletic left tackle. And so we have range. We can run wide zone. We can pull. I like how that really kind of helps fortify that middle three that I think was a big problem for Seattle last year.
All right, which puts me on the clock with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do we know that the Bucs like, Joe?
Long corners.
Long corners they can run, right? Long physical corners they can run. Zion McCollum, one of the starters there, Jamel Dean, has played in less games in each of the last 3 seasons while creeping closer to the age of 30. There's an out coming up in that contract for Tampa Bay. Chance to get younger. It's a place guys don't particularly age gracefully. So I have all that in my mind, and then I have what Darian Porter did at the NFL Combine from Iowa State, the cornerback, where he was, top GPS time, can fly like the wind, can run, super length. Was it 33 yards? Just like crazy amounts of length at his disposal. And really, I think a blossoming player on tape. All the measurables are fine, but I do think he's a player that is taking pretty substantial leaps in his play. So you take that profile of a player and you project that into Tampa Bay. If Jahad Campbell was here, that'd have been a strong consideration for me. If Mykel Williams, who I just picked at 17 to the Bengals, was here, that'd be a strong consideration for me. But as is with how the border fell, or how the board fell, I'll take Darian Porter here at Tampa, number 19.
Feels like a very Bucksy pick, Kyle. I mean, I'm sure some of the edge rushers were probably tantalizing there as well, but I get it. Denver here at number 20. I'm tempted to look at some help for this interior defensive line. I think it's a sneaky need, especially with DJ Jones as an expiring contract. And I think they just need to get a little bit more stout in the middle of that defense. But, I mean, Sean Payton's talking about a joker tight end, man. I got Colston Loveland right here, route winner.
Layup.
This feels like a layup, like an easy pick. Like I have to make it, but I think he'd help a lot with the evolution of the offense. And, Bo Nix, who I thought did a really good job of playing within structure, but then also when he needed to create, he could create a little bit. And I think this really kind of helps round out the passing game weapons. And, maybe they could use a running back. We can get that. We don't have to get that right now. I think there's a lot of depth to the interior defensive line, but the projection of Colston Loveland in that joker role is pretty clean. And I gotta pull the trigger here.
Okay. Last pick in this block, Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21. And I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State, right? So the under the surface rumblings are starting to pop up with George Pickens. Regardless of who ends up being the quarterback, it sounds like there's some momentum maybe that Justin Fields is the choice there to bring back a veteran to be the starter. If that's the case, there's an Ohio State connection here with Egbuka, who obviously has been a productive player for Ohio State for quite some time. Very sturdy type of player. I think he fits the brand. Like, I know they have Roman Wilson, who they took with a mid-round pick last year. Doesn't stop me from adding a pass catcher here to really feel good about a 1-2 punch. And Egbuka, I think, with his route running and the variety of ways in which he can win, I think he can win outside. I think he can win inside. I think he can complement their tight end room pretty well. And it's not the vertical separator and just true go ball type player with body adjustment stuff that George Pickens does, but I think it's a nice compliment. So give me Pittsburgh and Emeka Egbuka at number 21.
Emeka Egbuka goes before Tet McMillan. It's an interesting mock. We'll continue it here on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. You've probably heard of Chewy. They really do have everything that you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet healthcare, Chewy makes it fast, easy, and affordable. With over 100,000 products from all your favorite brands, Chewy has everything your pet needs, from food and treats to toys, beds, and grooming. And it's not just dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and small pets too. Chewy also makes it easy to manage your pet's health with prescriptions, telehealth, vet visits, and even in-person vet clinics rolling out nationwide. Auto ship, folks, that's a game changer. You can set up automatic deliveries for food, treats, or any essentials so you never run out. You can easily change or cancel it at any time. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping by clicking the link in the description. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. Cal, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Welcome, Chewy, sponsor of the
That's
program.
Right. That's right.
And we both have pets, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got more variety of pets than I do. You got a couple of felines, a couple of canines. Have you ever had like a non-dog or cat pet?
Yeah.
What did you have?
Okay. We had goldfish when I was a kid. Does that count? My sister had a hamster when we were in like school, when we were living at home with our parents in like high school and middle school. I had rabbits when I was a kid.
There it is. I knew we would get something out of you. Rabbits.
Yeah, rabbits. I had 3 rabbits.
3?
Yeah.
Big
Oreo.
ones?
Well, not at the same time. It was in sequential order when I was like, I went and stayed with my aunt and we went to some like petting zoo and I saw this little spotted black and white rabbit. And I was like probably 7 at the time or something like that. I'm like, I want that. And she's like, okay, he's not staying at my house. So she got this rabbit. What? And then my mom came to pick us up. And we had like a little hutch and we had like this thing of litter and there's all these rabbit pellets and the bottle with the ball on the end of it. And he came home and lived with us. And he lived for probably 6 years. His name was Oreo. Yeah.
Yo, you had a rabbit for 6 years. Kyle, I've known you for a long time. We talked about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
We never got to Oreo, but
Oreo, Cooper, and then the last one we got from the Humane Society's name was Carlos. My 3 rabbits when I was a kid.
Man, asking that question,
it's a gold mine. You never know what you're going to
get. What a great choice. You can go to Chewy. If you get a rabbit now, Chewy's going to have what you need.
All right, you're on the board with the Chargers with our next pick here in this mock.
The Chargers. Man, this feels like the O'Marion Hampton spot, right?
Pick somebody with some bunnies. Pick somebody with a good vertical, just in honor of Oreo.
Does he have I think he did have a good vertical, didn't he? Man, I could certainly talk myself into some interior defensive line as well. Yeah, I think here's a hot take for you with the Chargers. I think they have the most complicated offseason ahead of any team. The amount of expiring. Look at the expiring contracts, Kyle. It's a crazy list. Mm-hmm. Now, they don't have to figure out quarterback, which probably makes them a little less interesting than a lot of teams. But in terms of dealing with their own expiring list of contracts, the Chargers are in another planet than anyone else. Predictively, I think they're going to go with the running back. If it was my choice, I would go with an interior defensive lineman. I want to go a little bit more predictive here. We'll go on Marion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. Man, I just feel like they're going to prioritize that bell cow, right? You have a paid quarterback and a very good offensive line. It feels like offensively it's a ripe situation for them to get a player that I think is a very, very clean projection. And I think there's good defensive tackle help that they should probably consider as well, but I feel like they're going to really want this type of player, and so we'll go Hampton to the Chargers.
Okay. Green Bay Packers at 23. The corner situation's been pretty picked over. The pass rush situation's been pretty picked over. Those we know they like to spend top-tier draft capital on the defensive side of the football. They have needs at both of those spots. I don't get it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to get the thing that some Packers fans really believe that Green Bay needs this offseason, which is a wide receiver one. Tet McMillan still on the board here at 23.
Oh, yeah, this is too easy, right?
Right. We're going to pick him with the vertical element of the offense through Christian Watson, who's not a high volume receiver, kind of been very inconsistent with his availability. Tet McMillan playing off of a lot of the other pass catchers that Green Bay has. I think you can run a little bit more volume reliability through this player. But if teams want to try to play matchups and put the attention that's required to take him there if he's an early progression guy, I think you have a lot of other late winners that can keep the offense clicking efficiently. So Tet McMillan here at Green Bay, I know they have needs on the defense side of the ball. I know it's a little bit of outside of character, but with their wide receiver dynamics and the team needs versus the value on the board, I'll take Tet here.
Yeah, Tet, probably a player I should have thought about for the Chargers. I keep forgetting that he's available. But
not anymore.
Yeah, it's a good pick. It'd be the first round receiver in the history of the Green Bay Packers as well.
That sounds factual.
Or was Jalon Walker? Was he a first round pick? That's probably a sore subject.
Wee woo.
Oh, break the news, Kyle.
Well, it's something we've already touched on the show, but sources from Ian Rappaport, the Bears are expected to trade for Joe Tuney.
All right. There you go. Jonah Jackson, Joe Tuney.
A little different feel than Tom, Dick, and Harry, who they had in there this past year and try to piecemeal it together, right?
Yeah. That'll give Caleb Williams a real good shot to take a big step, shoring up the middle of the offensive line. Kyle, I have the Minnesota Vikings here at number 24.
You can pick a new man?
Well, I might not, Kyle. The Vikings don't have a lot of opportunities to pick players. You know, they pick 24, 97, 140, and 161. They've only got 4 draft picks. Anybody want to come back into the first round and get Jackson Dart? I know that gets complicated because I don't really know who controls what picks, but we can work on this. Like,
are we assuming everybody controls the same teams they controlled?
Let's just collaborate on it. Let's just do that.
Titans,
Jets. I think we got options here.
All right, hold on. I think we should do this, but let's make sure we get the facts right. In the second round, the Jets have 42. The Titans have 35. You're talking about coming up to 24.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans also have 34, courtesy of New York, for the trade we did because Tennessee traded down in this mock yesterday.
That's right.
We should probably be Tennessee with 34 and 35, and then like a day 2 pick.
So, yeah, we have to make up like 200 spots, right? 200 points is what we have to make up.
From like 34 to 24? Or
so
34 and 35 combined plus?
No, so 24 is worth 740.
Okay.
34 is worth 560. We only got to make up like 200 points here. Now, should we should tax them a little bit here to get back into the first round for a quarter?
Why don't we just offer 34 and 35 to come up to 24?
I think that's an overspend. That's a bit of an overspend. That's why I wouldn't do that.
Okay, so what else can Minnesota send back?
Let's go 34. No, let's just change it for Tennessee. Let's go.
34.
The problem is the problem with Tennessee, they don't pick again until 102.
Right. So you either need to do
34 and
35 for 24 and 97 or 140. Or you could just say a 2026 pick for Tennessee instead of 35.
Or we could do 35 and 1 or 34 and 102. That gets you pretty close.
34, 102, and their extra third round they picked up in the trade back from one.
There it
from
is.
2026.
So there it is. I think the point being we have Tennessee moving into this spot, loose compensation there.
Man,
and
Vikings fans are going to be pissed. They sat around all day yesterday, listened to us talk about the first.
Yeah, but now they got draft. They needed some draft capital, man. And I'm not sure there's going to be a huge difference in the player they're going to get here versus there. So Jackson Dart, you are a Tennessee Titan at pick 24.
Great. Lovely. Which puts the Houston Texans on the board. We'll get to them after the break. Is that the plan?
Be sure to stick with us. Look at us, man. 3 trades.
Oh, another wee woo.
Break the news, Kyle Crabbs. What is it?
All right, Rappaport again. Deal is being finalized as we speak. Joe Tuney and Chicago Bears. Sources say it's centered around a future 4th-round pick.
Okay. So it's not a new player, right? We're just getting some clarity on the compensation.
Correct. Unless you have something else, which
No,
I would not at all dismiss as we sit here and the business day is opening on Wednesday before the start of the league calendar year.
Brother, it's just clear your calendar for the next 2 weeks. You're not doing nothing but sitting there scrolling Twitter.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, it's fun.
Watching college prospects and refreshing Twitter.
That time of year.
Oh, wait. Some conflicting reports. Diana Rossini, Chiefs are trading Joe Tuney to the Bears in exchange for a 2026 6th-round pick. Sources tell...
Schefter says a 2026 4.
Okay, so this is the downside, is just doom scrolling the timeline and letting the news come rolling, and you got to wait for some clarity. So let's not do that live on there. The Houston Texans are now on the clock at pick number 25. I can go one of 2 directions here. Low-key, Joe, we still have Kelvin Banks on the board, too.
I'm not surprised by that. I'm comfortable with that.
So am I. I think the casual fan would be surprised, though. I can go with one of these offensive linemen, Tyler Booker, Kelvin Banks to play inside at guard. Or I could take one of these defensive tackles and put him in here on this already monstrous front that exists, that you have to think D'Amico Ryans would not be mad about getting another horse to get after opposing offenses up front and win the trenches. So we're going to do that. I'm going to pick Derek Harmon, defensive tackle, Oregon Ducks. Has size, has disruption ability. I think you could play him at a 3. I think you could play him in a gap control style front as well if you needed to, depending on what your weekly game plan is. So I think there's some scheme versatility there. But his athleticism at his size and the disruption that he had this year after he cut the weight after transferred from Michigan State to Oregon, you put that in the middle with these horses that they have on the edge there in Houston, and it's going to be a big-time problem. So Derek Harmon to the Texans.
Well, the Rams are getting ready to pick Derek Harmon. So they're very upset.
Really? Were they?
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of contracts with that defensive line that are expiring. And I think they need a nose, man. Like Bobby Brown might leave, right? So
I hope he does.
Yeah. You and I are both in on Bobby Brown and Josh Palmer.
He's on the timeline tweeting about how mad he is. He gets typecast as just a run stuffer. Right.
And like, he's extremely athletic. Like his RAS score is very, very good. He's
24 years old.
Yep.
Not an A gap player either. Can play in the B gap.
Yep. So that we were planning on Derek Harmon. Oh, Kyle Crabbs.
And of course, they ruined it. It was a popular left tackle spot, and then they came up with a contract extension for Lark Jackson.
And this is exactly why you shouldn't have done that, because you could have just drafted Josh Simmons or Calvin Banks or Josh Connerly right here. And,
that's a really good board draw for them on that
100%. Front. Yeah, for the tackles, which is kind of what I expected to happen. Enjoy Alaric Jackson and all the money that he commands now. You did something in your – I read your mock draft, Kyle. You did something crazy here. I might do it.
But it fits, though, doesn't it?
It does fit. Is there a corner that I should get? I think I should probably get a corner, though.
Sad.
I know. I just think it's the right thing to do.
Do you like the corners available here?
Not really, Kyle. Not
okay,
really.
Then take the better player.
I haven't watched Hairston or Thomas yet, so I don't actually know if I don't like those players.
Okay.
Can you help me there? Thomas or Hairston? Is either one of them?
Dude, I would run in the card so fast for the player that I did in my mock.
All right. Sounds like I need to do this. Carson Schweschinger.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
You're staying in Los Angeles. You're now linebacker for the Rams. And, I mean, it's probably time, right? This is definitely – like Omar Speight seems like an okay player, but Troy Reeder and Christian Roseboom.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything.
Come on, dude.
I'm talked into this firmly. Carson Schweschinger, first-round tape, big-time athleticism, great hair. You are a Los Angeles Ram.
What if we took these generic creative player linebackers that we've been running with for the last 3 years and got rid of them and replaced them with just an unreal killer with instincts on the second level? Carson Schweschinger.
Behind that front, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Splash plays will be had. Yeah.
Right.
All right. I'm in on it.
All right. The Baltimore Ravens are on the board here, and the Ravens are going to do the Ravensy thing that they do. I'm tempted by Nick Emanwari to pair with
out, don't he?
Kyle Hamilton. I'm tempted to some degree by Jalon Walker, having fallen to the late 20s. And I'm also tempted by Kelvin Banks with the reported interest of, bringing back Ronnie Stanley. And I don't think that's a long-term answer you should put a lot of eggs in the basket for. What's the most Baltimore Ravensy of those three selections? It's probably Banks.
I mean, you could talk me into a safety, but man, Ardarius Washington was such a find for them, right?
Yeah, and he's a restricted free agent, so they'll have the opportunity to bring him back. I
think their biggest need's that corner. Like they rolled with Brandon Stevens and Trey White in a platoon oppo Wiggins, and that didn't go well. So if you like one of these corners, that makes sense. But then I
like Maxwell Hairston.
Be a fast pair.
But I don't know, the Baltimore DNA being so rooted in just value on the board and line of scrimmage play. I'm gonna take Kelvin Banks for the Ravens here and kind of end that slide.
All right, I got the Detroit Lions here at 28. How does that work?
Just put it back there.
Let me think about this. So
you have a lot. I have a lot of likable fits for Detroit here.
So they have Kirby Joseph.
Yeah.
Brian Branch in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
We have room for him, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of liked Ife Melifonwu, like the idea of Ife Melifonwu, who's an expiring contract. Yeah, we're going to do it.
Let's go.
We're going to do it. I'm sitting here thinking, all right, what guard do I get? Do I get another edge rusher? Yeah, just Nick Emanwari.
A freak player in the back end to play off of Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch.
Yeah, I think we got to do it.
We
got to do it.
All right, so Washington's now on the board here. At pick number 29. Names that stand out to me. Let me make sure I get Gray's Able out of here so I don't.
How did that happen? Wow.
I think you copy-pasted instead of I click and drag, so it pulls the name out of the cell.
I normally do that. Apologies.
So here's the deal. Washington last year took Brandon Coleman in the third round, and he played left tackle for him. I think he was credited with double-digit sacks, but I don't kill a guy for credited sacks because some of that's on the quarterback, some of that's the scheme, some of that's him himself, some of that's ambiguous protection, mishaps, and miscommunications. But I think Brandon Coleman can play inside at guard as well. I think he probably project better inside at guard. The only tackles currently under contract for this football team are Andrew Wiley and Brandon Coleman. I get a chance to add, we very clearly have the quarterback in the passing game. We want to make big plays happen. We got good feedback on Josh Simmons and his recovery from the patellar tendon tear. I'd much rather have Josh Simmons playing left tackle and Brandon Coleman playing inside long term. Give me Josh Simmons here at 29 for the Commanders.
Dig it.
Protect your franchise quarterback, Jane Daniels.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, a healthy Josh Simmons could have went a lot higher than this, so that's a good value play. I dig it. The Bills at 30, Kyle Crabbs. The Bills at 30. We're picking Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo, brother. We are doing it.
That for me. I like that for you.
And that's all you need to know. Great pick, Joe. Kansas City's next. The Bills need help at defensive tackle. I mean, obviously, I think it's one of their biggest needs. I think they'll have a good chance to address the edge stuff in free agency. The board had more value at defensive tackle. Alexander, I don't think he's a perfect projection as a nose tackle, but the Bills like that more penetration style player in that spot as well. And he's a plenty stout guy. So, yeah, we're all excited about Darius Alexander. High floor player, which is different than what the Bills have kind of done in the first round. So there's that piece as well.
So we now have on the board with 2 picks left in the first round. We have Malachi Starks on the board.
Yep.
We have Maxwell Hairston on the board. We have Jalon Walker on the board. We have Donovan Izaraku on the board. We have James Pierce on the board. We have Walter Nolan on the board. We have Tylik Williams on the board. We have Josh Connerly, Tyler Booker on the board. Luther Burton's on the board. Good year to be having one of those first 5 picks on day 2, right? Where you say everybody sits there, resets their board overnight, makes a bunch of phone calls on Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
For the Chiefs, Tyler Booker. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do Tyler Booker. It sounds like there's not a lot of enthusiasm for Justin Reed coming back. I think the best available player here is Malachi Starks. And I think Georgia played him all over the place, sometimes to a detriment, where if you told me that Steve Spagnuolo and his defense and Starks came in as a freshman and was able to quarterback that defense, that was a complex defense, I think he's well groomed to step in and be a big-time player. So I'm going to take Malachi Starks to help rebuild Kansas City's defense amidst their outgoing personnel here at number 31 for Kansas City.
All right, close things up with the Eagles. Do I just pick Jalon Walker? He's a Georgia player, maybe a Zach
undersized pass rusher, fell in the draft.
Just do that.
Just like they did with Nolan Smith.
Well, I think that's the Eagles are going to have to find an answer here because between Becton, Bond, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, they're not going to be able to bring all those guys back. So it probably comes back to replaceability here. You know, I think Tyler Booker also has some likable qualities to be the pick here. Do I just pick Jalon Walker here?
All right. I think you want to collaborate on this one?
Let's collaborate on this one.
I think you have a couple different, not surprisingly, a lot of names that we just disclosed when I went down. Here's all the players that are still on the board. Walter Nolan, with them having Milton Williams as a departing contract that's probably going to get paid big time money.
Yeah,
I think makes a lot of sense. I think Jalon Walker makes sense. I don't think they would pick a guard at 32.
Right. The thing about Jalon Walker, he doesn't necessarily make me forget about Josh Sweat, right?
Right. You could take Izaraku. I think Izaraku's very well deserving of a top 32 selection in this class too. Length, 34-inch arms, short. He's got bend. He's got a very diverse pass rush playing. But I also think, if you told me Vic Fangio used Jalon Walker in some of the ways that Andrew Van Ginkel was used when they overlapped in Miami.
Don't you feel like you get some of that in Nolan Smith, though?
You do. But I'm just going off of Howie's tendencies of you can never have enough.
Let's go with Jalon Walker.
Okay.
The Georgia thing,
Right.
The Vic thing. Maybe there's some Van Ginkel elements. Maybe there's some Bond elements. We'll just figure it out.
All right. So that does it. It's going to conclude this mock draft here. We went through the entire first round. We had a couple of trades. We had a trade at 1, which we went over yesterday. We had a trade for another quarterback here today on the show with Jackson Dart in Tennessee coming up. I'm not going to recap it for everybody, though. You guys got to listen to the content and enjoy the shows the last 2 days mock draft. We're going to get out of here and reset, as we'll see what else news is coming down the pipeline for us. We're previewing free agency tomorrow here on Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys as always for checking out the show.